Why people call the cops when no crime is being committed.
If not, the police have been calling you already. I'll call them again.
You called the police? Because I asked for soy milk?
Why people call the cops?
Are you serious?
Because you're recording right now. That's why.
And we're hearing plenty of stories about everyday racism from the perspective of the Black experience. But these interactions actually have two parties.
All right, so they don't want you back in the store tonight, right? They're not banning you from the store completely.
And up next, we explore the psychology behind why people call the cops when no crime is being committed.
We walk for police. Yeah, I said she might fall float. Yes, I fall
But you're gonna have
So
to.
what
They
did
want
she
you to
say?
leave now.
Right. I was leaving.
Okay.
What? And my coffee was done when she made this happen. So what did she say?
Basically, that you guys got in a little bit of an argument over the soy milk, and she asked you to leave.
Why people call the cops when no crime is being committed.
If not, the police have been calling you already. I'll call them again.
You called the police? Because I asked for soy milk? Are you serious?
Because you're recording right now.
Can you just hand me the soy milk she poured?
I can't. I'm sorry. Like, if I want to keep my job, like, I can't.
No, actually, the kid that's there.
I'm a supervisor. I'm a supervisor, okay?
We walk for police. Yeah, I said she might fall float. Yes, I fall
The one sitting on the stairs hit my door so hard it was like practically coming off. I had to hold it back.
Fine. Just call me. I'm gonna show you how to do it. I'm gonna show you how to do it.
No, actually, the kid that's there. He came storming in just as she was giving me my coffee, and I said, somebody just ran into the back. And when I said to Cheyenne, I said, Cheyenne, just hand me that soy milk.
I'm a supervisor, okay?
We walk for police. Yeah, I said she might fall float. Yes, I fall
The one sitting on the stairs hit my door so hard it was like practically coming off. I had to hold it back.
Fine. Just call me. I'm gonna show you how to do it. I'm gonna show you how to do it.
The person who is downloading this video lies.
I'm curious to hear from you. You're the district attorney here in Philadelphia. You're doing something very interesting. You're ran on a reform agenda. You're trying to sort of transform the vision for what that office of prosecutor looks like. What's the answer to the question of when someone should call the cops?
The difficulty is that as people feel suspicion, they're tapping into their biases. And it is not a situation in which most people have no bias. The truth is we're constantly bombarded with bias, with prejudice. It's almost like fighting germs to try to keep these away from us. It takes a certain amount of work. So the difficulty is when you have a society, as we do, which has an incredibly high level of incarceration, extreme involvement of police in fairly everyday things, and unfortunately, to their detriment, a lot of police have become the first responders for mental health issues, for family disputes. It used to be that if there was a fight in the schoolyard, this was a disciplinary matter, and that turned into a school-to-prison pipeline. Well, in the same way, just normal disagreements and disputes and curiosities in society have turned into individuals making phone calls because, frankly, they find the race of the person they're watching to be inherently suspicious. So it's a problem, and it does require the participation of everyone not to tap into their biases and to look at what's really happening.
Yeah, and Tim, for a lot of Black people, the idea
Totally
of the police
goes over
is,
Joy's head that
frankly,
includes white
intimidating,
people.
Right? The idea of calling the cops on someone is sort of almost threatening, right?
Right.
But for white Americans who are comfortable with the police, it seems like a problem. It seems like a solution
listen to how this guy
person who shouldn't be here.
introduces this subtle reverse racism.
You know me
too.
Well, here's the thing. White America has been raised to believe, A, the police are always the good guys, and frankly, that black lives matter less than white comfort. And until we deal with that, until we deal with the reality, because here's the problem. When a white person calls the police on a person of color over a barbecue in a park, sleeping in a common room at Yale, sitting at the Starbucks or whatever it is, knowing that Tamir Rice's life was snuffed because someone called the cops on a 12-year-old boy playing with a toy gun. Something that white boys do all across this country without fear of being shot. And that's a national story. You can't tell me you didn't know that happened. When John Crawford is called, the cops called on him at the Walmart, also in the state of Ohio, not to pick on Ohio, and he's standing there with an air rifle that he pulled off the shelf at Walmart. He's talking to his girlfriend or whatever, and the cops are called on him. They come, they shoot him. When you know that is what happens, what you are saying is, my discomfort with you right now is worth more than the potential that your life could be snuffed in 10 minutes. Until that stops, nothing is going to change. Part of the sort of common theme here in a lot of these stories, you know, you come upon someone napping in a common room, it's like, you can just talk to the person. Like, you don't have to, there is, the discomfort is so intense, right? The discomfort is so intense that rather than be like, hey, what's up? Like, to whoever you want to have a conversation with, you're going to call 911, an emergency line, to report something.
That's exactly. So one of the things that I will never forget about one of the first conversations I had with a police chief was the thing that would make my job so much easier is if everybody just took social relations classes. Because almost 90% of the things that my officers are getting called for are things that you could just go up and have a conversation if you weren't so scared of your neighbors. And the rest of it, right, that causes so much terror amongst the community is stuff that police could never be trained for, right? So the chief that was telling me this, right, former chief in Salt Lake City says, you shouldn't call me and my officers unless you want an armed response. Because while we get training in mental health, we get training in substance abuse, we get training in family planning, we are also trained in deadly force. If you don't want it, then don't call for it.
And you know, you also have the issue of police officers who exhibit fear toward the people that they're stopping.
Changing the subject
so I wonder
again.
why there isn't some sort of legal prohibition against a nuisance call, calling the police for something that isn't a crime.
Right.
Yeah, who's ever thought of that before?
It's a really good idea. Although we have to admit, you know, the nature of criminal prosecution is intentional acts, and an awful lot of what we're talking about is ingrained bias. Right. It is prejudice that is breathed in, and it just seems to express itself in these ways. But fundamentally, you are talking about a society in which there is an incredibly high level of suspicion and a willingness to subject someone who is other, and that could very well be a mentally ill person or a person of color or someone who is presumed to be, you know, threatening because of youth or whatever it may be. You're subjecting them to incredible dangers in a militarized police system.
Well, and there's also the fact that there is a policing model in this country, and you know, it started with broken windows policing in New York City in the 1990s. It spread everywhere, which is that part of policing is quality of life.
Right. Fewer here than some other places, but yes, there's no question that a lot of what has been done traditionally is that kind of prosecution. It's the little stuff. It tends to be something that picks on people who are in poor neighborhoods, often black and brown. It tends to be ignoring, massive crimes committed at a white-collar level by prosperous people and by corporations. That is the nature, unfortunately, of what prosecutors have done for a long time, is that they have been the face of a government that is going to treat certain people a bad way.
It's unfamiliar to people who've moved in and now are uncomfortable in the process.
Right, well, the irony is the gentrifiers of today, their parents or their grandparents ran away from the city to get away from black and brown folk. And now their children and their grandchildren are saying, oh, the suburbs, there's only so many Olive Gardens I can go to, so I need to go back to the city and get my life in the city. But when I do that, I need to have my hot yoga studio and my pottery studio and my stuff represented. And if you intrude on that, I will then call the police. This is all part of a larger problem. We cannot solve it just in the prosecutor's offices. We have to look at it as a housing issue and education issue.
Thank you to the golf and Eric Crawford. Thank you both.